to another edition of the Dirty Verdict Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, mediator, Peter Taaffe.
I'm your other host, full-time litigator, Kyle Herbert.
I'm your third host, full-time litigator, Bill Ogden.
Peter, who do we have with us
Well, we've got a very, very unique guest for us, and that is Cory Krueger, who is a probate, what we call a probate lawyer here in
That's
Houston.
when you get arrested and you have to go back to prove you're not doing drugs, Bill.
I thought it was when you had a phobia of dead people.
A probate?
Well, we're going to find out that both of you are wrong, but Cory will enlighten us on that. So, Cory, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We try to, when we have guests on, we're trying to cover the whole gamut of legal expertise, both for our lawyer friends that don't encounter this, so they know just enough to be dangerous, but also enough to know to call you, and then for the non-lawyers at home, kind of what different areas of law are. They hear terms like probate or estates, and they don't necessarily know what that means, or trusts. So we're glad you're here to kind of give us shine a little light on those issues.
And by expertise, it's more just like a modicum of understanding.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because we don't want to confuse Bill.
Just enough. So
A lot going on up here.
So I'll say this. I always enjoyed trust and estates when I was in law school.
Why?
About it.
Why?
Favorite classes.
My dad is a CPA who does a lot of trust work with trusts and trust companies, and so those were some of the first lawyers that I knew. So I was just kind of, and they're good guys. And then some of the, as we'll talk about, some of the probate litigation stuff is pretty interesting. But when I was in practice and my client needed help, either someone had died and the widow or a child, a younger person had to open an estate in order to bring a claim, I would refer them to Cory to help out. And Cory always did an excellent job, very efficient, very easy to get hold of, to ask dumb questions, which I often had, and most importantly, took care of my clients. So
I referred a case to Cory today, and I'm feeling much better about it now.
good.
Thank you for that, Peter, by the way, for all those referrals. And Kyle.
You're welcome.
Bill, you're next.
Yeah, we just met, but I'm always looking for a probate lawyer.
Yeah.
I interned in probate court 1 in law school. It was like the best year of my life.
Who was the judge there?
Russell Austin.
Oh, you're old.
He's like super old. Don't let his hair's fake. Don't pull on.
I am old, and I'm not kidding you, man. It was an education working in that court. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, Cory's going to tell us that it's not all quite just boring, paperwork. It's kind of exciting. So, Cory, how long you've got your own firm here in town?
I do.
Name?
The name of it's Hensley and Krueger PLLC. I had a partner named Nelson Hensley, and he's now retired.
Okay.
We started as kind of general practitioner firm, and it was valuable experience, but I'm glad I don't do that anymore. When I was there out of law school, he had his own firm, and we partnered up. And he was known as the sexually oriented business attorney. So he would defend certain entertainment clubs.
Okay.
And somehow we morphed into a probate firm.
Interesting.
Well, you age out of the lifestyle, and then you got to set up your estate.
And then Kyle picked up that torch, and now he's the sexually oriented.
There you go.
club
Tell me
guy.
about it.
He's still in the research phase. A lot of research.
Just doing a lot of
Deep background.
He's doing a lot of marketing right now.
actually
On-site marketing.
none at all.
So
in many ways.
So Cory, what's the website for your firm?
www.probatetexaslawyers.com.
Okay.
Do you have any sense you wanted to do probate in law school?
Probate Texas
Just kind of end up with this guy and...
No, he didn't do much of it. I just started getting some cases, and I enjoyed it. And you could help people when it's a tough time. Obviously, someone died.
Do you do estate litigation or just planning?
Almost all litigation. We draft wills and trusts, but that's not our bread and butter. It's after death.
For the average Joe who doesn't have an estate that needs any sort of planning, what's it cost to get a will drafted? Genuine question.
Married couple?
Single,
Just
single,
dude.
one kid.
Not much. $1,500.
Single, one kid, no assets, really weird miniature car collection.
Yeah. If there's limited assets, you could even say $1,200, $1,500.
Yeah, money on paper, just not as much in the bank account.
It's not as expensive as a lot of people think.
Yeah, I was thinking like $5-6 grand.
Yeah,
I genuinely had.
We could do that for you, Bill.
I mean, yeah, you can never have enough.
That's right.
If you have 4 wills, it's like cats. It's the only difference is food.
Have you seen that movie, All the Money in the World, about J. Paul Getty's estate?
Negative.
Well, Bill's basically the same thing.
So the
I wish I had that.
So I mean,
inheritance.
so getting a will drafted, even one that may not be perfect, but just enough to kind of make sure, hey, there's where I want my stuff to go when I pass. That's easy to draft, and what you need 2 witnesses, and then you put it in the file, and you don't worry about it again.
Easy, also extremely important to have it done. 2 witnesses, a notary. Got to ask some questions at the will signing ceremony. But yeah, as long as someone's competent, knows what they're doing, they need to get one done. I mean, there's like 65% of Americans, is a stat, that don't have wills. It's a real problem if you don't get one.
In Texas, can't you just write it in your own handwriting and sign it? You don't need witnesses or
A
notaries?
holographic.
Holographic will.
Corey loves those because those always lead to litigation.
Yep,
Yes.
100%. That's why
true.
I've got 9 different legal pads with different ones on them. I just want to see everybody fight over it.
So I got a question. It seems like, in my mind, people that end up litigating their estates is like some oil baron that lives in River Oaks who's got like 4 families. Is there a ton of estate litigation? I mean, do people have enough assets to fight over?
So I would say that I think there's a ton of it because that's what we see. We see the people who have problems or have contested estates.
Are those rich folks?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, obviously,
Who rich?
And I got nothing to fight about.
You would be surprised at how many well-off individuals either don't have a will or did it right before they died, or someone else had them do it right before they died.
What's the average size of an estate that you litigate on? When you say most of them are rich people, like what is rich in that world? Just curiosity.
Average, probably 5 to 10 million.
Jesus, there's that many of them out there?
Have you ever had a case where the will is like hidden and there's like a mad dash to try and find it?
Like a Dan Brown novel?
Yeah.
Usually in those cases, it's forever gone because someone wants it gone.
Really?
There's nothing you can do about it. How are you going to? It's like having cash in a mattress. If someone's at the house, that cash is gone.
If I want to hide my will from all my family members except for one until past my death, should I leave it like in a safety deposit box or give it to Bill? What's a good place to
Just
keep
have
the
it
will?
tattooed on her back.
Well, put it in the glove compartment of your car. That's where no one ever finds it. And then they find it after the contest goes down.
And did that actually happen?
Yes, and then it's all settled, and then they find the original will.
That's awesome.
So if you only have a copy, you can still probate it, but it's presumed to be revoked. And that's a big problem because it's much easier to contest.
Wow.
so you have to have the original ink sign will for it to be. I mean, it's like that's
like the gold standard.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have a copy or a PDF, that's
You can probate it, but it's presumed by law to be revoked. So you got to overcome the presumption. So if someone contests a copy of a will, it's much easier to win. I was joking about keeping your glove compartment. Just don't put it in a safe deposit box, because if you die and someone else's name is not on that box, then you have to go get a court order to get the will out of the safe deposit.
I got a question.
Am I keeping it in Bill's gun safe?
Put it in your safe at home or wherever else you put important documents at your house.
If there's a copy of the will and it's contested, couldn't you just bring the witnesses in to prove it up? And I feel like that'd be a hard battle to win.
Yeah, you can, but then you think about, hey, this will was 20 years old.
Are those people still there?
Around.
Yeah, or do they even remember what was?
It just makes it more difficult. You can prevail on the copy.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
But if you're already fighting about the validity of the will,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm way too far into this profession to be having my first conversation with a probate attorney.
A copy of a will is easy to probate if no one's contesting it.
I gotcha.
so. Questions on if you don't have a will, and let's say you have assets, what is the procedure for? I guess it's called a dependent estate.
It's a good question. Depends on if all the heirs agree. You have to go get. It's a two-step process. You have to apply to get someone appointed as the administrator, either independent or dependent administrator, and you have to also have the court adjudicate who the heirs of the person who died is. That's the problem.
Yeah. Let's say a husband and wife, husband dies, and there's 2 adult children, and the wife, and there's no will, and there's enough assets to, that could potentially, and let's say they had originally come in and go, we agree to the statutory division of assets, everything's going swimmingly. What does that look like at the front end?
File application to probate to appoint an administrator and for heirship, and then you have to have an ad litem appointed.
And who's the ad litem overlooking?
The ad litem's appointed by the court and is just trying to verify the facts that we state in our application.
Okay.
They got to try to find out if there's any unknown heirs that we haven't stated in our application.
What if you have known heirs, but it's been years and you can't find them still?
Heirs?
Yeah.
So I'll let you answer, but I know the answer to this question.
Doubt it.
What if you have heirs but you can't find them?
Yeah, a guy has 6 kids and we can only find 4, and we've been searching for
You
those
gotta
other
hire,
2.
when you can hire a genealogist to go track those people down.
PI,
I mean,
private investigator, you know.
that's still not working.
That's,
And they're not in the U.S.
at some point, the money stays in the registry of the court.
It's
Their portion.
It could have sheet to the state of Texas at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. What happens after a certain amount of time? Because it's been a while.
So I worked as like an ad litem for unknown heirs for a while, and we had a case that's in probate court 1 where this lady died with no heirs, no siblings, no cousins, and we had to hire. She had a massive estate, and we had to go back. This is crazy.
I know, it got a little tight in here when you used the hands. It said massive.
What's massive?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I mean, I want to say it was in the tens of millions of dollars.
No. We were with you on this, Kyle.
Settle down.
You first.
Settle down. So we had to hire this genealogist, right? And we built this family tree that, like, we had to go back to, like, 1890 and then forward to find living heirs. And they, like, lived in Romania and Poland. And so we had this hearing in the probate court, which is in the old family courthouse.
Yeah.
And our genealogy thing, it took up, like, 4 tables of...
It's like the TV show on PBS.
It was...
Sounds like a real cheap case to fight over.
Well, the funny thing was is the lawyer, like there was one person who was kind of local, but he couldn't take
Like
it.
1 ear or something?
Yeah, like one heir who was like a 13th cousin who happened to live in Harris County. And this lady died in Harris County. But yeah, I mean, the genealogy and the accounting and to untie all of her assets, I mean, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, so I assume that's a...
Paid like $1,200.
All right, so that's unique. I'm kind of thinking more the normal one. So the estate administrator, whoever's appointed, their job, and there's no will, so their job is to identify the heirs, but also identify all the assets and liabilities. Is that right?
Yeah, collect all the assets, find out what debts there are, pay the debts if there are any, and then distribute to the heirs.
And what is the statutory split between a surviving spouse and children?
Depends on
If there's
Let's say there's no will, so whatever.
Depends on if it's community or separate property.
Okay.
And if the children are all of the same marriage, it gets very complicated.
Let's say normal, just same marriage.
Husband, wife, same marriage, couple kids.
Yeah.
Community property would go all to the surviving spouse.
Separate.
Separate's different.
That goes 1/3 to the spouse, 2/3 to the kids. To be
And
split
then
even.
there's like real estate's different than personal property, so there's like a 1/3 life estate.
Okay.
They have graphs.
Yeah.
They have graphs.
I remember the flow charts when I was studying for the
They
bar
have
exam.
graphs that we have to look at almost every day just to remember. I mean, even though we do it every day, you still have to like.
Yeah. You so again, that is very time consuming and
Yes.
expensive because you're having to pay a lawyer, and are you having to pay an ad litem too?
Yes, ad litem's like $700 statutory in Harris County unless they do more work, but you're talking about 4 times as expensive versus having a will. And then if you have a dependent administration, meaning like not all the heirs will agree to appoint someone independently, I mean, the expenses are outrageous.
Because every time you want to sell like a piece of property or a car, you've got to go to the court and get approval from the court.
And you got to do it
I
like
feel like you've done this before.
Yeah. Well, I've seen these happen. Yeah.
you got to hire someone to do like an annual accounting and all that other stuff.
For a dependent, yes. Independent, you don't have to do that.
So what issues do you see litigated the most? Is it squabbling spouses? Is it stepmoms and kids? Is it
Stepmom and kids of the person who died, and then brothers and sisters.
brothers and sisters?
A lot of sibling fights.
And particularly like if a will gave more to one sibling than the other, then they fight about whether that was fair.
Cut out all the other siblings because one sibling took mom or dad to go get a new will done, after
2
they
weeks
already
before they died.
Or 10 years before they died, but they're already diagnosed with dementia.
So you guys are litigating a lot about the
Capacity.
decedent's capacity to do that.
We have become, we send so many subpoenas out for medical records and bank records.
So when it comes to mental health records, I know at least from the plaintiff side in personal injury cases, a lot of times those are very hard to get.
So you're right. There's exception in probate court or state law where if you're contesting over capacity, there's no
Objection to it?
Yeah.
Got it. There's no privilege to the claim?
We want to do some like lightning round softballs for you.
Here we go.
Not to ambush you. Could you explain to our listeners how the Howard Hughes estate got so messed up, why they decided
The
that
FBI was involved?
Texas had jurisdiction, and how that whole case got resolved?
I'll tell you to talk to. Bill Miller.
Yeah?
He's, I guess it's Hunting and...
Oh, no, Andrews and Kurth at the time.
Yeah. Now it's Hunting and
No, Hunting and Williams, maybe?
yeah.
But it was Andrews Kurth.
Bill Miller was a friend of mine, and he was what he's told me. I think he was the lead lawyer on that case, and he was a young lawyer at the time. He's got some good stories, not just about that one, but I don't know the answer to all that.
I was going to say, a lot of people don't know this, but with all the oilmen and Howard Hughes and some other, there have been some really famous probate cases come out of Harris County, like the DePortanovas and the Howard Hughes deal, like all sorts of.
Was it Marshall?
Howard Marshall.
Anna
Nicholson
Law School.
Yeah.
I know the Aquin State took for. I was in law school when that started, and Treese was the executor. So
He was camped out in the probate court for a long time.
Now there's one right now pending that's going to be.
Oh, still on the O'Quinn estate?
No. You were talking about kind of high.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's sealed, but the Texans owner.
Bob McNair?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he would have said the name if he wanted.
Well, I mean, everybody knows.
I mean, his
Passed away.
He might be sealed. Texas owner Bob McNair. Kyle, the secret keeper.
his kids all seem normal.
So,
Cal. I don't know.
no comment. So, okay, so how about in this sense, do you see this where a caregiver will take someone under their wing and try to get the people cut out, the family members cut out?
There's a recent case we're involved in where the caregiver settled but still got $10 million, and I don't know what the percentage was, a large percentage of oil and gas royalties, which is probably paying that caregiver, my guess is $30,000 a month plus the $10 million he got.
That's a pretty good rate.
And that was someone who the decedent wrote a new will shortly before death in favor of the caregiver, unrelated person.
Yes.
How can you
It's a long
protect
story, but I wasn't. We were an heir. One of our clients was an heir to that estate, so we weren't representing the guy, the caregiver, or the decedents, like the decedent survivors. But
what can you do if you're a family member to look out for that or prevent that or deal with it ahead of time?
I mean, get a power of attorney and a medical power of attorney naming you as the agent. That's helpful, but it still can't prevent someone from just going and signing something without you knowing. Alert the people at the nursing facility, but it's hard, man. You can't predict it's going to happen. No one ever thinks it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, and probate court also would have jurisdiction if you did have a family member that you thought had reached dementia. You go to probate court to have a guardianship set up. Is that how that works?
Yeah, but I don't know that that's going to prevent some bad actor from doing what you're saying. But yes, you can. Yeah, if someone's mentally incapacitated and they don't have a power of attorney, you need to go get a guardianship set up for them. Yeah.
Okay.
Peter, between me and Bill, who do you want to take care of you in your golden years?
It's actually a really good question.
Yeah, I'll. No offense, Kyle. Bill's younger.
Finger guns come out.
Yeah.
Don't I seem more responsible, though?
No. In no role.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Today.
In this context.
I want a tie.
Yes. That's true. Bill does have a tie. He dressed up today.
I dressed up for Core, but I kept it on.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to go with youth. Sorry. No offense. Not judgment. I'm going to go with youth.
Fine, fair enough. Now I know where I stand.
How much older are you?
I'm 47.
Golly.
Wow.
It's like, what generation is that? Boomer? What is that?
We're the greatest generation, Bill. You insensitive, ungrateful youngster.
I think I'm Gen Z.
We stormed the beaches of Normandy. We put a man on the moon.
Well, you are a boomer. You do fall into the baby boomer category. I honestly don't know what comes after boomer.
We're Generation X, man. We had grunge music.
No, they have the best music.
We had Bill Clinton. We had the internet.
Disco.
We had Netscape. You could like plug into a phone line and get on the interweb.
Most importantly, we did not have cell phone.
We didn't have cell phones.
We didn't have cell phones that had cameras on them.
We did.
And somehow
Instagram,
that
TikTok,
that has ruined. I just heard a story about some high school kids doing some horrible things, and they probably would have gotten away with it if it weren't for the fact that they videotaped it
Someone's filming
and
it.
circulated it. Yeah. So anyhow, okay. So Cory, interesting
lays the weird
cases
stuff.
that you've been involved in that you can tell without identifying.
Yeah, like a moment where you're like,
For those of you
didn't
that
see
are
that coming.
Or if you can, I mean, if a lot of this stuff is public.
If you're listening and now watching, Corey's like his eyeballs are rolled back in his head. And he's kind of making this sucking
Former
sound.
stripper meets a guy 20 years ago, but then 20 years later, she finds out he's sick, goes and gets him. She lives in Texas, goes and gets him from his home state on the East Coast, takes him back to Texas, gets married, gets a new will, says goodbye.
This feels like Hannah
And then
Nicole
he
Smith.
dies, like, literally, I think it was 1 month after the will.
And the family wonder why he had left the East Coast, or
Did they even know?
yeah.
There's some estrangement. I don't think that it was a wonderful father-child relationship, but
Had he been in contact with this female entertainer for the 20 years?
You didn't say female.
Yeah, he didn't, Kyle.
Yeah.
Wow.
you were right.
Yeah.
Boom.
I'd say maybe in contact once every 5 years, maybe when there was some money needed.
Okay.
But then now that's common law 20 years ago, and now, even though she got married to him, right before he died, she's now saying it's common law for 20 years.
So your client was a stripper with a heart of gold?
My client was
Former.
sibling. A child. Sorry, the ones fighting the will.
Wait, where was that? Here?
I don't want to talk about that.
No, we're not going to talk about it.
It's in Texas, but
Yeah, Texas.
not here.
That's what I meant.
Did you file
It's
suit?
still ongoing.
Did you file suit against her stage name or her legal name? Like the estate of Jones versus Chastity Bubbles, or
Latin Star.
Yeah. So that one's ongoing.
I thought it was Phil's stage name.
No, I think your stage name is the name of your first pet in the street you grew up on. So mine would be Hachi Chestnut.
Sparky Heatherlawn.
Yeah.
What was the first name? Is what?
Hachi.
No. What's the
That's the name of your first pet of your life and the street you grew up on.
Spike Rice?
Oh, man, Spike. He's the closer. He's the Thunder Down Under type character.
Yeah.
That's you.
Spike Rice. That's
Spike Rice.
Spike Rice, yeah.
Okay.
There's another good one where a companion, not married, I represented the son. The old man had a bar in a small town in Texas. Didn't have much, lived in a mobile home. Didn't have much way of assets. 10 years before he died, he's diagnosed with dementia. She gets a will done for him. Again, not married, just a companion, like 9 years before he died. And lo and behold, 2 years before he dies, a great aunt comes out of the woodwork and gives him 18% of her estate that's worth, I don't know, $50 million. And
Good aunt.
And with lots of royalties. Guess who's pocketing all the checks while he's in the nursing facility? Royalty checks.
My guess is the companion.
You got it.
My money was
So,
on Spike Rice.
we got hired for the son, and we had to fight the fight, and now we won. I mean, we won. We settled, but
What's the average turnaround time on something like that?
that one was over a year.
Is that normal? If you're contesting and having to litigate a little bit?
I mean, it just all depends on how fast you want to get rid of it, right?
I got you.
Some of them take 2 years, 3 years.
Court structure. So we have probate courts that are dedicated to just these. Are they statutory, and that sets the jurisdiction for these courts?
Yeah.
Are there 4 in Harris
There was
County?
4 till last year. Now there's 5 in Harris County.
Okay,
Just
and then
started probate court number 5.
and this was kind of eye opener to me. They all have associate judges that are. Do they pick, or does someone appoint them, or does the
judges pick?
The elected judge picks the. And so, what's the role of the associate judge?
They handle a lot of the uncontested hearings. But they'll handle some contested hearings as well. I think it's just overflow.
You have to consent to it and waive your appeal?
You can
object to it.
You can object to it, but you don't have to consent to it. Yeah.
I got it.
Do they sometimes kind of serve as almost like a law clerk would to like a federal judge, where they're doing a lot of the?
I think more like a magistrate.
Yeah, a magistrate. Yeah, equivalent.
They have a lot of court staff at the probate courts. Like there's a
Investigator.
staff attorney.
Mm-hmm.
They have staff attorneys?
Yeah.
A lot of counties have those.
The associate judges in Harris County are great. They're very helpful. You call them, ask questions, how the judge wants it. I mean, they're well above a law clerk, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, for federal court law, that's a prestigious, briefing attorney where you're kind of helping the judge with like pulling the cases, reviewing them, giving your feedback. I mean,
it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of reading.
Yeah, it's a lot of what?
It's a lot. I mean, it's a ton of like if you have a case involving a trust.
Yeah,
it is a ton to digest.
Right,
but it's not fun reading.
No.
Where are you from?
God's country. Victoria, Texas.
Hey, my family's from Goliad.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And
where Goliad, that Refugio County.
Did you live there?
No, I'm from here. A good friend of mine is trying a case. He's got a bunch of family in Victoria, Court Acres.
You ever been to Schrader Hall? Dance hall out in Goliad?
Oh, yeah. In La Bahia. I've been to a number of weddings there, yeah.
Is that one of those that's been redone? Someone bought it and like...
They did. The dance hall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did, but now it's not going so hot. I think they're now just doing like private parties.
Got it.
Weddings and stuff.
So how'd you get up this way?
Went to school at University of Texas in Austin, and then I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the FBI. I wanted to be a sports agent. None of that worked out, so I went to law school here at U of H, and I stayed here.
If you were really a FBI agent, would you tell us, or can you keep that secret?
I think it would depend on my role with the FBI.
Your level of cover?
Yeah.
Okay.
CIA is the ones that have to pretend like they're like consultants or whatever.
And they can't be here because they don't have jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I want to be the FBI right now, though, with all the things going on, right?
Yeah. Are you talking about P. Diddy?
No.
Kyle's been wanting to talk about P. Diddy so bad.
It's just a lot of baby oil.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a ton of baby oil.
It's a lot of baby oil.
It's a slippery drink.
It's a slippery situation.
Yeah. Okay. Any other interesting cases? Yeah, you caught that one.
It slipped right through my fingers.
I mean, there's a lot of them. It's just, I could go on and on.
But it usually is the common theme of the interesting one is some quote unquote bad actor took advantage of an older person, got the will rewritten and in their favor and to the detriment of kids or.
Yeah, the thing is, it's hard to win on undue influence or lack of capacity. It's very hard. Especially undue influence.
What's kind of undue? Like, what does that look like? Is you're saying someone like really pressured them, or
a caregiver situation? Someone's already like maybe didn't lack full mental capacity, but is kind of on the border. Mm-hmm. And someone just like writes the will themselves and puts it in front of them and says sign it, and they think they know what they're signing, but they don't know what they're signing.
And they got a couple of family friends to witness and notarize.
How about this situation where there's like 3 different wills?
But back to the undue influence. Who's there to really
document it?
Yeah. How are you going to prove your case? It's difficult because the person who's dead is, no one.
You'll go by the preponderance standard?
Depends. Yes. Depends on when the will was if the will was admitted to probate or not.
I got you.
So this might sound dumb.
You can test it afterwards.
Yep. This might sound dumb. In a world where we have e-filing and email, and you can literally prove a document in its original content with metadata and all that, and we're still relying on like wet signatures on paper.
This is how Kyle tries to sell us NFTs.
I've got a beautiful spray painting NFT that me and Josh did that I would love to sell you guys. We can talk about that afterwards.
I think it's just too easy. I mean, the law says it's presumed to be revoked if it's a copy. It's too easy to just scan something.
No, I guess what I'm saying is
with e-signature, it's not a copy.
Where we can lock something in time and like you could e-file it with the court the day you sign it. Like we're still walking around trying to find pieces of paper that got stamped in 1980. I mean, it's kind of wild to me.
To that point, are there other states that are like kind of trying to pioneer and rewrite the laws to bring them up to 2024?
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of.
How crazy are the
Like,
conferences?
You're supposed to ask a bunch of questions too, like whenever they're signing the will to make sure they're incapacitated.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some lawyers don't do that, but you should.
Do people film their signing?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that could go both ways. Why are you filming? Because you think that they might lack capacity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Jeez, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Double-edged sword there,
What?
Phil.
Okay, what happens? Like if you are married and let's say you have one kid at the time, and you say, "Here's my will. I want to give everything to my spouse, Jane, and the residual to a trust for my son, John," and then don't update your will, get divorced, have another marriage, have another kid, but you never update your will. You just forgot. And then you die. Only will that someone finds is, here we go. How does that play out?
Well, the spouse that he was married to at the time when he wrote the will is written as if she predeceased him, or not, just completely out.
But in that statute, or is that some case law or something? Okay.
So then it would just go to the only kid.
It
doesn't matter if you got married afterwards.
Oh, okay. The second marriage, that person.
There's obviously a community property issue,
Right.
but the will, all of his separate property would go to the son. Or
Is that a pre-termitted spouse?
Oh,
That sounds legal.
Man, the words that...
I'm telling you.
Kyle was on his phone. Kyle was on his phone.
I put all that into something that is more helpful.
I don't think in 17 years that I've had a case regarding a
So I have one.
permitted spouse.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you asking it today.
Is there a statute as regarding, I make a will, leave everything to my son, and then I pass away, and then ipso facto, didn't know I had an extra kid, but I did, and they come in.
Oh gosh, we got.
See, this is Bill having a lucid.
He's got some right now.
Bill's having a lucid interval as he's telling us this.
A lot of people draft wills where it says goes to all my children,
Heirs of my body.
regardless of whether they're born or not. When you sign the will,
Then you get into sperm donors and frozen.
what if you had a child outside of marriage that your wife doesn't know about, and then they come out of the woodwork when you die? Oh, I'm his son.
Seems like the best time for him to come forward.
So I knew about a case that I worked on a probate court one 25 years ago that very briefly involved a very prominent doctor who had two families, one that lived in River Oaks and then owned a bunch of real estate where the Galleria is. And he had an entire second family with a woman who used to be the maid for his first family, and she was African American and lived in Beaumont. And we had several hearings where there was like 70 people in the room, all related to one guy.
Oh wow.
Half of them African American folks from Beaumont and half of them white folks from River Oaks. And the tension was palpable. It was totally wild. Does that kind of stuff still happen down at the probate court?
I'm sure, man. Yes. Maybe not 70.
No, I mean, we packed the courthouse. I mean, people waiting in the hallways. It was great.
But blocking and tackling. So if there's community property, you divide the community property right at the time before, like at the death. So the surviving spouse gets their half of the community property, and then the deceased part of that, then their half becomes separate property, and then that's divided.
Yeah,
All right.
you can only will what you own. You only own half of the community, right?
Right,
So
okay.
the other half of the community stays with the surviving spouse. Yeah.
Got it.
What's the dumbest asset you've ever seen family members fight over?
There's a lot of them, man.
Pokemon cards.
A red tricycle from 30 years ago.
Animals, pets.
You know Ashley Reiner? Mm-mm. She's a wonderful probate lawyer. She does a lot of administrations. Like she's the appointed court administrator when everybody's fighting. And we were so lucky to send her a case where the deceased was breeding dogs, and so she had to keep like 13 dogs for us. I think sometimes they were in her office. But she was in charge of, because they're moneymakers, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's an estate asset. So that's probably a weird one. I mean, that's one of the weirdest ones. But, gold coins, all that stuff.
Do people still do the will reading where it breaks out and all the family members sitting around, it goes, and Bill Ogden gets the Corvette?
I don't. But there are a lot of old school high net worth estates where they still have their family lawyer read it all out.
I've got a task list that my little brother has to go through all around the world before he can get his cut of what I'm leaving him.
Like a scavenger hunt?
Yeah, he's going to have to spread my ashes all
Leaving
over.
stuff to your little brother?
Yeah, just a little bit, just so he has to go do the tasks.
Are you married?
No.
Makes sense that you would leave it to your brother.
Yeah, my son gets the overwhelming bulk of it, but yeah, I'm going to make him just go places he doesn't want to go, and he's going to have to spread my ashes in a little piece of ashes.
How many kids do you have?
Just one.
That we know of.
Yeah.
Yeah, he asked, there's some targeted questions he asked today that I think may have.
Yeah.
I did have a question though about, has 23andMe impacted people coming? I didn't know that you were. It hasn't yet.
Not in my office. No.
Because I've read a couple of articles where somebody died and all of a sudden they do the 23andMe back and they're like, wait a second, and then all of a sudden they're an heir and they didn't know that they were.
I would say that, most of the time it's people that have wills already come to us. We deal with the no will cases, but there's nothing. I haven't seen that yet.
How big is the? So I assume you don't in litigating in the probate world, you don't necessarily aggressively start a lot of wars with opposing counsel, because you could go in the next hearing, you're on the same side of something, and
we go up against probably 10 to 12 firms almost every time,
and everybody kind of knows each other,
and they're all. I mean, everybody's great. Yeah, you can't do that.
It's like bankruptcy.
Well, and you're also in front of the same.
Yes.
Up until recently, the same 4 judges. They got a 25% chance.
No, yeah, I'm always curious when it's kind of a smaller, not small, but smaller bar.
It is small.
And you might have a hearing that you start a war with at 9, but your 11 o'clock hearing, you're co-counsel on the same side as the person in here.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
don't y'all see that about like PI stuff?
No, I start forest fires and wars every chance I get. It's against the same. Well, not so much for me, because we practice kind of across the nation, but
okay.
I run into some every once in a while that I've been against.
It's rare that you have a defense lawyer that you would then be aligned with later. So you're going to have the same fights over and over with the same people, which
Chaz
makes that. I
saw y'all's podcast with him.
With Chaz?
Yeah, I know Chaz.
I meant to wear a pink
Sweet
tie
Chaz.
to support the month. He's wearing pink every day.
Donate to Chaz's cancer.
I donated last year. I'm going to donate again. Yeah. Kyle's going to donate $5,000 this year. He said
How do you know
earlier.
Chaz?
I have a case with him that's been going on for quite some time, and we were literally texting each other about it while you were sitting down.
I met him just on the show, and then we kind of became friends after the fact and kind of keep up.
I've met Chaz's entire family now. We all went to Carrabba's together.
Before or after you tried to get him sanctioned? You animal.
That was his sanction. He had to go with Kyle to
Carrabba's?
Yeah.
Peter, I have a question for you. Have you mediated any probate matters yet?
No. People have asked me if I do them, and I said, I know enough to
clearly you do,
to mediate them, but I haven't. I don't think I've had any yet that I can think of.
How long has it been since you left the prior firm?
3 years, almost to the day. Yeah, so I think I've done about 1,000 mediations so far. So I'm
mostly full day.
No, they're mostly half.
But you would take.
Oh, of course, yeah, and I know several of the lawyers, that are in your space. So yeah. Anyone wants to mediate with me, I'd be happy to do it.
We can't take Pete anywhere. Every time we go somewhere, he's trying to make money off our guests, and I mean, it's just it's tacky, Peter.
It's embarrassing.
I asked a question.
Yeah, he did, but I'm hustling.
But he's the inception. He planted that seed a long time ago in this podcast.
Oh, I get his monthly emails.
He's a puppeteer.
Those are probably pretty intense. I mean, most of the ones I do are it's insurance, so it is the same group of people.
What do you have a newsletter?
I didn't say that I read your monthly emails, but it's good to get your name out.
Yeah, I don't think I do, but
I was going to say, if Peter has a newsletter,
something that I see every month.
I think one of my colleagues at Coma Mediation's doing that right now. So
I think it's good. It's great.
Yeah.
Guess we're not going to get invited to the Christmas party.
I think I'm getting a better understanding of how we break up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, they were talking about when we had our litigation fight that's in the public, how that's going to play out. It's going to be two. It's going to be 2 against 1.
Probably.
Could be 1 against 1 against 1.
It's going to start here.
Yeah.
I'm going to join which side's going to win. So
okay.
I'll hold out as long as I can, but then I'm going to pick my racehorse, and it's going to be ahead, and it's going to stay ahead.
But Cory, I definitely don't do family law because I'm not equipped with the knowledge on it. You have to also have additional training, but also, I mean, that's pretty intense. Are the probate, some of these things kind of they alluded to, you and your colleagues can all get along well, but your clients.
Yeah, it's personal for everybody.
Yeah, is it pretty intense?
I don't know, man. I did family law before I did this, and I always thought family law was worse. Like, I will never do that again.
You some sort of masochist? You just going through
Family law is awful.
I know. And then you went into probate, and you still have both.
bad.
It's more skin. Everybody's got skin in the game. I guess.
I'd rather give up my law license than practice family law.
You heard it here first.
Agreed.
Well,
There's also this. In fairness, there's family law costs a lot of money. All the fights. There's not necessarily assets behind that.
Right.
Well, that's what I was saying. I mean, your world is very binary. You say I want money, an insurance company says I don't want to pay you, and then you fight about it. In their world, the pot is the pot, and it's not going to get any bigger. And the more lawyers that are involved, the
smaller
less
the pot.
right?
The pot, in analogy to y'all's world, the pot is the insurance companies.
It's a depleting policy at all times.
Yeah, exactly. So the quicker you can get your arms around, if you're in these fights, the quicker you and your lawyers can get a hold of the facts, and then you can negotiate, the better.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of other things, like people change beneficiaries on a $2 million IRA, right, or retirement account right before someone dies. Then you gotta.
And that passes outside of probate.
Yes, but you need to make sure that you get that stuff frozen as soon as possible, because once it gets in the hands of the beneficiary, it's gone.
Yeah, good question. So life insurance policy, $1 million policy, beneficiary changes to some odd person that you wouldn't think. What do you do about that if you're, let's say, the spouse and you want to stop that? Like, do you go get an injunction against the bad actor?
TRO or
First you go send a letter to the financial institution, and it usually actually works. But then you get an injunction.
You send that to like a bank president or something?
No, like an insurance company.
Edward Jones or what?
Okay.
Something like their legal department.
what?
Yeah.
So
They're supposed to
Freeze it.
when they really find out there's a conflict, they're supposed to just kind of stay out of it.
y'all figure it out.
Yeah.
Do they have an interpleader
Yes.
too? Okay, so like an insurance company could put the $1 million policy, interplead at the court, and say I'm out.
Yep.
Is that it's predominantly litigated because that's a contractual dispute? So is that predominantly litigated in probate court though?
Yes.
Okay.
So then you file like a breach of fiduciary duty, something
gotcha.
like that.
Okay, there you go.
Or a dick action.
Couple of pre-weekend questions.
Let's go.
It's going to be OU, Texas this weekend. You going to the game?
Going first time with my wife and both my kids. Mind you, my kids are 5.5 and 4.5, so I'm out. I've been to that game probably 30 times. Okay.
And we had taken them to other Texas games before that, and you could see the look on their face, how shocked they were by the intensity of just seeing grown people act like complete fools, and just like it. But the electricity was so intense, it really shocked them, and they'd been to tons of football games. So I think just prep your kids for you're going to see some crazy stuff.
Did you take headphones?
No,
Not headphones.
that was
earmuffs. Yeah.
That was before responsible parenting existed, so no one had headphones on.
I just don't think they're going to make it that long after the fair for 3 hours. Now it's at 2:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to bake.
No?
Probably not. You never know. I might get a wild hair and just do it. I'm not currently planning on going.
Peter, I'm sure you're going.
Yes, I will be there. There's a story about how my son snuck onto the field in 2018, and now he'll be on the field legit.
See, 18.
Awesome.
Was he in high school then?
He was a sophomore in high school. Yeah,
You snuck on during the game?
before the game. They went. What's game day was there, and they had been to game day, and it was kind of just thought, hey, you never know, it's Dallas, we can sneak on, and they snuck on, and
They get arrested?
no, they just got asked to leave.
Were they wearing their Baylor green shirt like Kyle?
No, they were wearing the hard hat from Home Depot.
If you get a hard hat and a vest, you can walk through any security line. You get carry a ladder with a buddy.
Yeah,
you
you're
can walk
12
in
years
music
old, whatever.
festivals.
Like you own it.
Yeah, you're
Confidence is
yeah,
key.
you're contractor. So they don't look.
The
at
other
credentials.
thing I'll say is this. I was at the game one time without kids, and something happened, and I'm yelling every, bad word on the planet, and because an interception. A nun is in front of me, and she looks up
That's
at me.
no nun. That was Barry Switzer.
No, it was a nun. There was a couple nuns, and they had not been there before, so I think that was providential. I was like John Belushi and the Blues Brothers, where the light came down, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to take college football seriously anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm a little too invested.
Yeah, but still a little bit. But yeah, the game is the best for a reason. So I'll look for you up there.
So 14-point spread,
14 and a half.
14 and a half.
Yeah.
Who you got, and what's your final score?
I'm going to do Texas 31-10.
Ooh, bold.
Horns 34-13.
That was.
I'll go. We've been so good in the red zone. I'm going to go with a even touchdown number. So 35-24. I think it's going to be close. It's a rivalry game.
I think we're giving up 24 points to that offense.
I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit.
Have they lost?
As OU,
They lost to Tennessee.
Oh yeah, Tennessee. I forgot.
And they said
we have
a lot of close calls.
We have not given up more than 13, I think, so far this year. So you're right. That's a good point. But it is a rivalry game. So.
What's a bigger rivalry? True, honest question. A&M UT or UT-OU?
It's been a UT-OU because the last 10 years we haven't played A&M.
Right, but just this year we're playing both. Which one's bigger?
Is the question, who do we dislike more?
No, because I know that's A&M.
Yeah.
A&M is,
which says a lot.
They're different. They're different because Cory said, A&M people, like you went to high school with them, or you're all friends or family members. So it's more of a friendly, intense rivalry. Whereas OU, there's not a lot of overlap. So it's more of like, I just don't like those other people.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Cory, has been great having you.
No, he didn't finish. He disagrees.
Well, I respect Oklahoma's football program.
Yeah.
There's not much I can say about the other program.
They got national titles on the side of their stadium, I thought.
They just beat number 9 team in the country.
I'm going to
Stomped them.
Okay.
I agree with you 100%, but I'm getting the high sign that we can't continue to talk about football. We have to move on to other stuff. This is not your fault.
All right. Well, Cory, thanks for guiding us through the process. It was very entertaining.
I really appreciate y'all having me.
And again, Cory's website is it Texas Probate Attorney?
ProbateTexasLawyers.com.
Okay. ProbateTexasLawyers.com is where you can find Cory. If you want to find us, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, and
X formerly.
Oh, yeah, X sometimes, but mostly Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and Spotify, and Apple.
And your Snapchat.
And, yeah, my occasional Snapchat, my monthly Snapchat I send out, allegedly. All right, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.